Witness C says businessman and criminal suspect Vusimuzi Matlala claimed to have strong ties to high-ranking police officials, including the embattled South African Police Minister Senzo Mchunu after his arrest in May. The witness is testifying before the Matanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria. This comes after Mchunu denied having a personal relationship with Matlala when he appeared before Parliament's ad hoc committee last week. Witness C is continuing to provide evidence on the arrest of Matlala.
Upon arrival at Oxburg SAPS, before he could be charged, he indicated that he would want us to talk. Then we requested an office whereby myself, Witness A and Witness B had a talk with him. He started again telling us of his connections with the high-ranking officials of the SAPS and also started name-dropping again and indicating that he was close to the minister, Mr. Senzo Mchunu, and the person named Brown Mokgotsi.
South Africa's Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development has addressed concerns from the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into allegations regarding cooperation from government departments. Minister Mameloko Kubai has reaffirmed government's support for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. She says it plays a crucial role in advancing accountability and justice for victims of the apartheid-era atrocities. She has asked for a postponement of the submission deadline to ensure the Commission has all necessary information. The spokesperson for the Minister, Terence Manasseh.
The Minister is engaging the Commission to address any administrative or procedural delays that may have affected the submission of required information. The request for a postponement of the submission deadline was made in good faith to ensure the Commission has all the information necessary to carry out its work effectively. The Minister says government remains committed to transparency, accountability, and supporting all independent commissions established in terms of the law. The Department of Justice and Constitutional Development will continue to provide the necessary support for the Commission to fulfill its mandate.
The South African Weather Service says forecast higher than normal rainfall for several parts of the country in the coming summer months. The Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, Free State and Northwest provinces are likely to experience heavier rainfall, which could result in localized flooding in some areas. Forecaster Tukelo Chilwane says this is due to the La Nina phenomenon.
The seasonal forecast, or the latest seasonal forecast, which was released on the 30th of September, does indicate that we're going to be in what you call a weak La Nina season. And La Nina for the eastern and central parts of the country is defined as above normal rainfall with below or normal temperatures. Going forward now, it does have an indication that for Gauteng province, KwaZulu-Natal, Free State, Northwest, and escarpment as well as highfield of Mpumalanga, as well as the western bushveld of Limpopo, has an indication that there will be above normal rainfall.
Lastly, President Donald Trump has called on U.S. military leaders to resume testing U.S. nuclear weapons in order to keep pace with other countries such as Russia and China. He wrote on social media just before meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping in South Korea that because of other countries testing programs, he has instructed the Department of War to start testing the U.S. nuclear weapons on an equal basis. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Nsinsi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
And coming up in your sports news this hour, Uganda are ready for the AFCON Challenge, while Australia bat first in their semi-final match against India. Details coming up at 12:30.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
Well, thank you to Onele Nzinzi with our news update and Msibudi Makura with our sports headlines. It is 12:07 Central African Time and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa on DSTV's audio bouquet channel 802, OpenView channel 628 and on www.channelafrica.co.za as well as on the SABC Plus app available on the Apple and Google Play stores. Join us in conversation on our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram, and subscribe on YouTube at Channel Africa 1. On Facebook at Channel Africa, you can also send us your comments and voice notes to +2763 as 406 9126 hashtag Africa Updates, and let us know which country you're in. And if you have any stories that you'd like us to highlight or to focus on, send us an email. It is newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or give us a call on +2711 714 4459.
Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802.
Well, today on hashtag Africa Update Ask, protests have erupted in Tanzania following the elections in that country, while protests continue in Cameroon after results were announced on Monday, and Morocco has charged more than 2,400 people after recent youth-led protests turned violent. Now, our question to you today is, are you for or against such protests? And are there any alternatives that one could look at? Share your thoughts and your views on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes to +2763 as 406 9126 hashtag Africa Update Us.
Your window to the continent and beyond. Africa Update. Only on Channel Africa. Channel Africa. The African perspective.
It is 12:09 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Our regional and international bodies have come under fire for not speaking out against the deteriorating human rights abuses in Tanzania in the run-up to the elections yesterday. The Southern African Coalition of Civil Society Organizations listed instances of enforced disappearance, killings, police brutality and torture, unlawful arrests and detentions, restrictions of media and online freedom, suppression of political opposition, and targeting of religious leaders. Yesterday, protests broke out in Dar es Salaam and other areas between demonstrators and police. And now joining us on the line, we are going to be speaking to the spokesperson of Chadema, as Brenda Rupia. Brenda, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Hi, Lulu. How are you?
I'm well, thanks, Brendan. Hope you're doing well. You know, with under the circumstances, despite Chadema being disqualified, did party members go out and vote for another opposition party, or did the members totally boycott the election?
Lulu, as I don't know if you guys have been able to witness what has been going on in Tanzania since yesterday. Demonstrations broke out around 11:30. CCM was quite sure that there were no good demonstrations going to happen. We did tell them that we're not going to have any elections if we're not going to have any reforms. They kept, but they were not certain that this could happen. They underestimated Tanzania, and Tanzania has never had national demonstrations. This is the first time it's happening. People are tired. They're saying they want Samia out. They don't want her to be the next president. She cannot run against herself, really, because all the other parties are really CCM underdogs. They're CCM created parties. So Tanzanians don't have any belief in them, and that's why they decided to demonstrate yesterday. And the demonstrations were uncontrollable until like around 1 a.m. We did see the military had to enter on. They had to go on the roads because the police were killing people. I'm told that the military from Uganda, there has been military from Uganda that have come to Tanzania, and they're actively killing people, especially in regions such as Mbeya, Tunduma, and Sirari in Tarime.
Now, what's happening today? Are protests, is protest action continuing? There is a curfew that has been imposed. No time was given for it to be lifted. Exactly what does the curfew entail? And, what are the people saying now with regards to what they've embarked on and the unfortunate loss of life or killings by these Ugandan soldiers?
Actually, the people of Tanzania are generally tired. The police, it seems that the police have orders to kill anyone who's on the road, to arrest anyone who's on the road. So there is a curfew at the moment. No one is going out. There's still a major internet shutdown, unless you have like heavy VPN, like I do. Um, People are still being arrested and some killed. In Sirari, Tarime, Mwanda, protests are still going on as we speak. The situation is kind of under control in Dar es Salaam, but not entirely because we've been told that the INEC is already announcing the results. Even though they know that there was no election yesterday, they have orders to announce the results as soon as possible so that the situation can be under control. But the people of Tanzania have said that if they continue with what they are doing, then this country is not going to be controllable, it's not going to be manageable.
I have to say, Brenda, yesterday we did try to connect with you, and unfortunately we weren't able to. And, just that clarity on internet and access to internet is a challenge there. What now? What's the next plan of action?
Right now, as the party members cannot communicate, as the internet and national lines have been cut off, so that citizens cannot communicate and gather up and meet anywhere. We're waiting. We're waiting to see if they do announce themselves as winners, and if Samia is elected as president, then we Chadema party members, we're going to have a meeting about this, and then we're going to decide what to do. We told them there will be no if they are not going to be any reforms, there will be no elections, and they undermined our campaign, and that's what happened. So we're going to have a meeting after with whatever case they decide,
Yeah.
because up until now we cannot communicate in anyhow.
All
So we're
right.
going to have a meeting and decide our way forward.
Well, Brenda, always a pleasure chatting to you. Thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Thank you very much.
That's Chadema spokesperson Brenda Rupia joining us there on the line. And, live in studio, I have been joined by advocate Sipho Mandula, and he is a Pan-African researcher. And, Advocate, it's been a long time. Thank you for joining us live in studio and talk to us about. You've just heard our conversation with Brenda Rupia and the elections that have taken place in Tanzania, protest action, happening, and people losing their lives. I think. Peace was brought in after alleged Ugandan soldiers were brought into the country to quell the tensions, and this was about 1 a.m. in the morning. Good afternoon. Your thoughts?
No, thank you very much, Sister Lulu, and afternoon to your listeners and Jumbo Africa. Indeed, looking at Tanzania, I think it has been boiling since the beginning of electoral cycle. And it is concerning, as you recall, that our own school, Thabo Mbeki, African School of Public and International Affairs, was in Dar es Salaam in May for Africa Month lecture. And you could see that the issues of what I will say, is it the dwindling of the liberation movement ethos? And when you look also, that script you saw in Mozambique, is SADC facing a serious challenge in terms of the democratic wave. Is the Generation Z rising? Are they rewriting a script? If you look at what's happening in the land of Julius Kabarange Nyerere. But also I think the issue of the issue of banning of political parties, the issue of last night having a curfew, the issue of internet blockage. In terms of African human rights system, as we are celebrating and commemorating Africa Human Rights Month in October, it also raises the question of freedom of media, expression. Those are the key issues that I looked into. And the issue of the use of force, if people have been killed, if there are tear gases. And having been to Arusha last year, and for me, it is a sad memory that you are having the memorial now of one of your own, Paseka, when you were in Arusha. Arusha also, it is burning down. Dar es Salaam is burning. The last campaign rally before the election, Samia Sulu was in Zanzibar. So one can look at that. There are serious challenges. Will the AU rise to the occasion? And can start with AU. I'm not talking about SADC first, because SADC there's a vacuum. But we are deputizing SADC, by the way, in South Africa.
Yes.
So it's up to South Africa. We cannot rely on Lilongwe. The old man just came into office 3 weeks ago. Professor Mutharika is 85. He might be dragging and delaying the Troika to intervene. As you know, that the report of Joyce Banda in Madagascar has to be handed over to the Troika. I was shocked when one of our editors, Mesofi Mkwena, posted that Duma Boko must do something, and I asked, but Frontline states you need to have strong men who can intervene in Tanzania. You don't need Duma Boko's character, you don't need Daniel Chapo's character. You need real strong people in the SADC region who can try to arrest the current situation.
So I want you to unpack that real strong.
Yeah.
Who are you describing? Are you speaking particularly South Africa? Because now this has to be, leaders who come in and give and show direction. Because as you say, the SADC region is burning.
Yeah,
there's a vacuum.
It's a vacuum.
And not only the SADC region, the African Union
Absolutely.
as a whole.
I want South African Union because the Peace and Security Council acted on Madagascar. It was being suspended. But still, you have a military junta that has came into power.
Yes.
But with SADC, I also looked at Zimbabwe, but something said, no, withdraw Zimbabwe with the current crisis, what has happened now. We call it Agenda 2030, UN Agenda 2030, Constantine Chiwenga and Emerson Mnangagwa. Zimbabwe was a deputy, was an outgoing chair of SADC.
Yes.
South Africa is the incoming as a deputy. Now, Malawi and Eswatini, they're in the Troika.
Yes.
You can't trust them. Their politics are a bit low. So the strong man for me is what I'll call a multi-transdisciplinary mediation team,
which
of
is
the
South
elders,
Africa.
which is led by South Africa. And I'm worried, Lulu, even when Madagascar, you have the intervention of the eminent people, the panel of elders, we must always have a mix of the panel of youth also and women, because they have to ground and connect with those young people who are angry. But you take elders who are 75, 80 years, the Gen Z are already on Twitter and Facebook. They are running the revolution on the digital platform. So we need to understand that current situation. So the strong man also is the strong strong action taken by SADC Troika, like I said, but the president is in Geneva, he's gallivanting somewhere. So I don't know what to say. For me, I'm honest. To say to you, can Deputy President take action? Can Lamola take action? But for me, is that diplomacy will require that the neighboring states and the member states of SADC and East Africa community, we might have left East Africa community because Tanzania belongs to East Africa community. The AU, the current chairperson, with the Peace and Security Council, same script. They will send a fact-finding mission. They'll ask for mediation. But we're in a post-election violence now. Because yesterday it was during.
Exactly.
So now we're in the state of post-election violence. Counting is trickling. And should Chama Chama wins, would it be the Mozambique script again? You'll call a national dialogue. Because the only panacea when you have a conflict is to go back to the national convention or dialogue approach if you have to deal with the current situation of Tanzania.
Why is seemingly Africa is burning, especially when it comes to leadership? We look across the continent. We have the issue of Cameroon, 93-year-old president. We have Alassane Ouattara of Ivory Coast.
Côte d'Ivoire.
Just also won the elections. So there's a lot that is happening. And I feel like there's a lot of Africa is sort of the leadership who are able to do something or intervene are spread thin.
Yeah.
What should happen now? Because those leaders, apart from the fact that they have their own issues in their countries, Zimbabwe's president needs to step up. Dumabokwe, as Botswana, he also needs to step up, because at the end of the day, he is the president of the country, and decisions have to be made. And, we need to be realistic. Why is this happening in Tanzania? Ever since the president, Madame Sulu, there seems to have been crisis, and nothing has been done, even during the build-up of the elections. Because what's interesting in most of these incidents is the fact that the young people have come out and said, if this happens, we're going to take action. And once they take action, then it becomes a problem. Everybody seems shocked.
Absolutely. One of my insiders in Tanzania, and who's from the prominent family, told me maybe a month ago, and then I think 2 weeks ago in one of the national stations, I spoke about this wave of Generation Z, and for them rewriting an agenda of what I'll call engagement, how to engage, and also raising basic issues. But for me, is that as an electoral law student doing elections a lot, you don't demand electoral reform during elections. That's a very dangerous path. Secondly, you look at the question, as you said, that yes, you have Angola, you have leaders in the frontline states who have to up this game of engaging. If you look at the Peace and Security Council communique on Madagascar, I have been constantly quoting it because I think it is important to all SADC member states and AU. It said that you need to emphasize, you need to address the concerns of the young people in the African continent. So the AU has already rise to the occasion or woken up from their sleep, from their slumber, that you need the young people up here. Because these young people are calling a revolution, and we call them military coups, but others they say it's military revolution. The military looks and it takes advantage when the youth comes in the street. At some point, when you unleash the military, you are pushing the AU to come in with African Charter on elections, democracy, and governance, military coups and overthrowing, and the issue of obstructing electoral process. Again, you need the laws of Tanzania. Also, you look at their constitution. That's why there was a state of emergency that was declared yesterday. And I lamented on my introduction, why then cut the internet? Because now you are removing the media spotlight on Tanzania. We have observers of AU and SADC. I will urge your show to constantly follow up with them. What will happen? And PT's Malawi, that is chairing the SADC Election Observer Mission. AU is there. The observers who are on the ground are able to tell you about the post-election violence that is going on. But probably what we do normally as a former observer, they just fly you out. They whisk you out immediately when there's violence.
This is what I was
so
going to come
what
to.
are you going to observe?
This is what I was going
but
to come
we have
to.
what we call the long-term observer missions, and normally it's coming from security cluster. They stay long. The Europeans have political analysts and economic analysts. They analyze elections on economic projection. We just want to safeguard political power in Africa. That's the problem. That's a syndrome we have. But I have already said that we are going to have waves of protest in this continent and in this region. We should be ready. We should not think of commissions in this country that will come. Commissions will never resolve problems of this country. Also about South Africa, is going to take revolutionary voices by going to the ballot. And if the ballot is not fair, and also as you know, at our school also we have been lecturing management of democratic elections in Africa. Now, I'm trying to raise you the point of those who are the midwives of political power, which is electoral management bodies. They are also found wanting. When you pick up about Tanzania, there's also the question of, but is the Electoral Commission of Tanzania independent? Is it not loyal and biased to the current ruling party? So those are the trends that Africa is going to face if we don't fix the electoral management bodies.
And, so now, what should be the plan of action now going forward? You touched on Madagascar. Madagascar's leadership, the president or the coup leader, has basically stated the fact that he's given themselves 2 months to show some sort of deliverables that the youth have demanded. And I asked the question, what happens after 2 months? The response that I got from an analyst was the fact that after 2 months, if there is no change to expectation, those members of government or those ministers will then be removed from their portfolios and somebody else brought in. Do you know?
Yeah, no, that's quite true. But as you look at Tanzania and Madagascar as they're part of SADC, the main issue is that, yes, you might expect Colonel Randranina to, if you look at his cabinet also, he made sure he's got a safeguard.
He's got some youth in there?
No. He's got a safeguard of generals who are in a major positions there. And having been to Madagascar also, and inside that, most of you never knew, Ravalo Manana came to this country and said that South Africa must not allow Madagascar to step up and chair the SADC because something is brewing there, something is boiling. So we have what you call early warning system. Now, secondly, as you said, what will happen? Integrate the Generation Z into administration, train them, try to have intergenerational leadership in Africa, fix the institutions of democracy, safeguard the independence of judiciary, limit the role of the military and police in spaces because it's a democratic space, redefine probably democracy in Africa. Is it working for us? Is it a real democracy? Are we really dealing with the socio-economic challenges that faces this region and this continent? And having been to Tanzania, like I said before, it's a very sad state. We might look Tanzania as our place where the liberation movement went exiled, ANC, PAC. But the tables have turned. We are in the 21st century and moving towards the 22nd century. We cannot sing the same tune. The Generation Z, Mada, the Generation Z, Arusha and Dar es Salaam will constantly remind the leaders that your time is up. As we talk about Ouattara, Ivory Coast, Paul Biya, who doesn't even know where he is sometimes. He's in Switzerland. He wants to do like Gabon in the name of the Father, the Son, and the daughter. So we have a problem. We look at Sudan, the South Sudan. Salva Kiir wants to bring her daughter to become in the presidency. So you have a serious problem in Africa. And I think since Lulu having been constantly on African politics and elections, I'll never give up to always try to say, but once we have identified the problem, what must be done?
What must be done? We have run out of time. Very quickly.
Like I said, what must be done? Reboot the system, allow the young people to be in power, but train them and allow them. Don't set them for failure. It's the same like women power, when you give women the power. Because women are also constituting a high level of electorate numbers. But women are not contesting. Mesamia Sulu might have flipped on John Pombe Magufuli's vision, who was stubborn, if you remember, 5 years ago during COVID. Magufuli tried, but there was challenges that were coming from the West. Samia Sulu, I think the time he started to wear military gear, that's where people were worried. To say, are you militarizing the politics of Tanzania?
Yeah.
So demilitarized African elections and politics. Allow the media the freedom to engage. Allow the Gen Z, the Generation Z, the youth to express their views. And that's how I think Africa can reboot, and this is the Africa we want.
That is Advocate Sipho Mantula, Pan-African researcher, joining us live in studio. It is 12:31 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Our news headlines up next with Onele Nzinzi.
AUSISA, the Association of Water and Sanitation Institution of South Africa, is a platform uniting Africa's water professionals. This November, Africa leads the conversation on water and sanitation. Join global and African leaders at the AUSISA Africa and Global South Dialogue 2025 from the 9th till the 12th of November at the Emperor's Palace, Johannesburg. From policy innovation, this is where action meets collaboration for a water-secure future. Register today at ausisa-watersan-dialogue.org or follow at AUSISA on social media. AUSISA, working together for sustainable water and sanitation security in Africa. SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective.
Looking at your headlines, police in Tanzania's main city of Dar es Salaam fired tear gas and gunshots were heard to disperse protesters who returned to the streets after yesterday's general election that was marred by violent demonstrations. Tanzanian authorities have instructed civil servants and students to stay at home. Zambia has been hosting the 8th Conference on Mental Health and Psychosocial Support 2025 that has brought together close to 1,000 delegates from 25 African countries and including those beyond the continent. And Afghanistan and Pakistan will resume peace talks in Istanbul following a failure in the previous discussions. Channel Africa News, I'm Oneli Nsinsi.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective. Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
It's a very good afternoon from the sports desk. I am Musibudi Makura with the latest sports news at the Sawa. So Uganda's head into the Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations tournament in Morocco drawn in the challenging group alongside Nigeria, Tunisia, as well as regional rivals Tanzania. The Cranes have qualified for the tournament just 8 times in their history, and their most memorable run came back in 1978 when they reached the final. So under Paul Putt's leadership, Uganda aim now to combine discipline, tactical balance, as well as mental resolve to make a mark in North Africa. Ahead of their December departure for Africa's flagship football competition, the coach laid out his preparation plan, opponent assessment, internal goals, and just how he views the weight of expectation on the squad. So Coach Pat says the 2 World Cup qualifiers played earlier on this month served as preparation for the Africa Cup of Nations tournament. The team will also play 2 more friendly matches in November, and in December they will play more international friendly matches, and their final tune-up meetings will be against the likes of Nigeria just before heading to Tunisia, North Africa, that is Morocco, to face off with Tunisia in their first match at this year's Africa Cup of Nations tournament. Back home now, South African Parliament's Sports Committee wants South African Football Association, that's of course SAFA, to account for the mistake that saw Teboho Mokoena play while suspended in a World Cup qualifier. Now, Committee Chair Joseph Magulwa says SAFA must face questions before December, warning the issue can't just be swept under the rug. SAFA has been called to Parliament to explain just how a suspension blunder almost cost Bafana Bafana their World Cup spot. FIFA punished South Africa by docking 3 points, a move that briefly put their World Cup ambitions in danger. Although Bafana still managed to qualify, Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Sports, Arts and Culture says the mistake cannot go unaddressed. The committee wants a full explanation on how the error happened and what steps will now be taken to prevent it from happening again. Bafana team manager Vincent Zega has been blamed for the mix-up, with some calling for him to resign as the manager of Bafana Bafana. Now, former SAFA president, the current SAFA president, Danny Jordan, says that the matter is now closed. Onto this now, Real Madrid as well as Brazil forward Vinicius Jr. has apologized to supporters for his outburst after his substitution in a 2-1 win over their rivals Barcelona last Sunday. Now, the 25-year-old was visibly angered by manager Xavi Alonso's decision to pull him off in the 72nd minute for fellow countryman Rodrigo storming off straight to the change room. Now, according to media outlets, Vinicius Jr. was due to meet with the head coach to discuss the issue on Wednesday morning following a 2-day break, with the player also issuing a statement on social media apologizing for his outburst. Well, when South Africa lost to Japan at the Rugby World Cup in Brighton about 10 years ago, it was the biggest shock of the sport. It was also not because the Springboks put up a weakened side in that encounter. This coming Saturday, the Springboks will play Japan at the Wembley Stadium in London, and they have also selected equally strong and even more accomplished match day 23. So coach Rassie Erasmus is not taking any chances against an Eddie Jones coached Japan, even if double World Cup winner Cheston Colby is starting at fullback. Even if Colby is at fullback, might be an unfamiliar position for some. It is not an unfamiliar position, according to Kurtley Arnser.
I'm really excited to be back, and I think, like Coach Saras said now, it's not just his first time playing on fullback. I think we played against Ireland in 2022 in a VO2. He was a fullback. But yeah, looking forward to play with him. He's a think he's one of the best players, and yeah, it's just excited to be on the field again with him.
And finally, in live cricket action, Australia won the toss early and chose to bat first against India in their Women's ICC Cricket World Cup match at the Dr. D.Y. Patel Sports Academy in Navi, Mumbai. So Indian captain Harmanpreet Kaur said they would have also batted first if they had won the toss, considering the overcast conditions for the side that made a host of changes. So Australia, the dominant force for so many years, hold the aces in previous meetings between the two sides, having won 49 of their 60 meetings in the 50-over format. But India, buoyed by the home crowd support, can also take to heart the result in other semi-final matches. The winner of this encounter will go on to face South Africa, who yesterday made history by beating England for the very first time in a semi-final of a 50-over competition, reaching their first final in a 50-over tournament. At the moment, it's Australia 80 for the loss of 1 wicket after 12 overs. It is Perry as well as Litchfield at the crease for the defending champions. Well, it's 12:38 p.m. Central African Time. It concludes your sports news this hour. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, remember to send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. I'm back with more sports news in the next hour. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibu Di Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. The Upside, taking the African perspective to fresh levels.
Million ways them free when them buck up in a torture. Cause them I get torture.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to The Upside. All things that torture. That's the name of the album.
You know, torture literally means that someone who bears a torch, like a torture, like not T-U-R, but T-O-R-C-H-E-R. So like it's a Statue of Liberty holding a torch, like keeping it burning, you know what I'm saying? Like it just implies the fact that we have to inspire one another. We have to tell it through the music and reach out to the people to know that, listen, you got light inside of you that has to bend. You know what I'm saying? Like keep it burning. Like don't let nobody dim your shine.
The Upside, live and real. It's dynamic. Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Good afternoon. Time for our first look at the business news this afternoon. And our top story: Nigerian state-owned oil firm NNPC Limited is seeking technical equity partners to help revive 3 of its refineries, which have remained idle despite significant investments. The chief executive officer of the NNPC, Bayo Ojulari, says the refineries, with a combined capacity of 445,000 barrels per day, alongside the Dangote Petroleum Refinery, could help Nigeria end its reliance on imported fuel and become a net exporter. Former NNPC head Mele Kyari had also pursued external partnerships after securing $2.5 billion in contracts to rehabilitate the refineries. But the facilities remain non-operational as the Nigerian government struggles to let go of non-performing assets. The Premier of South Africa's Western Cape Province, Alan Winder, says it's crucial for his administration to keep enabling municipalities in the province to explore and invest in alternative energy. The Premier paid a visit to the Southern Cape this week, where he assessed progress on some of the Hesekwa municipality's major infrastructure projects, including the Riversdale solar plant, which is nearing completion.
But the main project is a provincial government Hesekwa municipality project where together more than 230 million rands being spent. This is a 10 megawatt hour solar voltaic project with a 10 megawatt hour battery backup. This is 20,000 solar panels and really a huge project that makes the town of Riversdale itself energy efficient or self-sufficient.
The outbreak of foot-and-mouth disease, which is now in its 4th year in South Africa's KwaZulu-Natal province, can cost meat producers thousands of US dollars. That's according to the chairperson of the Red Meat Producers Association in KwaZulu-Natal, Angus Williamson. In recent months, the outbreak has spread outside the initial disease management area. The outbreak has also affected commercial feedlots and dairy farmers. Farmers are concerned that the outbreak will cripple meat production. Attending a meeting with the agriculture member of the Executive Council, Tembeni Gamadlopa Mthethwa, in Durban, Williamson says he's concerned about the movement of livestock.
I think the biggest problem with regards to foot and mouth in KZN is access to market within the FMD. There are producers that are still unable to market their livestock. That's within the DMA and the Newcastle Dundee area, extending all the way up to Shukui. It's limited access to market.
The National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa, NUMSA, is expected to march to National Treasury in Pretoria tomorrow. The union is demanding government to stop conducting business with private security companies that are reportedly not complying with collective agreements. NUMSA spokesperson Pakamile Hlubi Majola says it's a disgrace that workers in the security sector must protest for what is lawfully and rightfully theirs. Hlubi Majola reveals that security companies are defrauding workers by deducting money for medical insurance and pension funds, but not paying it over to the service provider. She says they'll be handing over a memorandum of demands.
Security companies are defrauding workers by deducting money for medical insurance and pension fund, but not paying it over to the service provider. This means that when workers have to claim for medical insurance or pension fund, there are not enough funds or no funds at all.
President Trump has described his meeting with China's President Xi Jinping as amazing. He said they made a series of outstanding decisions to avert a spiraling trade war. The BBC's Laura Bicker reports.
The US president made it clear that certain issues were not discussed, including China's repeated military incursions around the self-governing island of Taiwan. But he confirmed that the agenda did include the sale of advanced computer chips to Beijing, which some analysts fear is a security risk.
And now for our first look at the indicators this afternoon. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,452 naira. In Botswana, it's 13 pula 87 Kenya. The dollar is trading at 128 shilling 37, and in Zambia, it's 21 kwacha 94. Moving to the BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 real 35. Russia is 79 rubles 55. India, 88 rupees 22. China, 7 yuan and 9. And South Africa, $1 is trading at 17 rand 13 cents this afternoon, far stronger than yesterday afternoon. $1 is trading at 75 pence to the British pound and 85 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $3,998 per ounce. Platinum $1,596 per ounce, while the price of Brent crude oil is $64.42 a barrel. And those are your business news. I'll be back with another update in the next hour. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or give us a call on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Bontle Hetbush.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Oh, thank you to Buntle Hetbush with our business news. It is 12:46 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Now, Cameroon's opposition leader Issa Chiroma Bakari has vowed to fight until what he calls the final victory over President Paul Biya. Bakari's supporters took to the streets again yesterday in Douala. At least 23 people have been killed since the weekend. Bakari has denounced the deaths and arrests, and to get an update, we are joined on the line by our correspondent in Cameroon, Muki Kinzaga. Muki, good afternoon and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon and welcome to Yaoundé. It's always nice being with you.
It's always a pleasure chatting to you, Muki. Protests, supporters, what's happening on the ground in Cameroon?
There is uneasy calm right now in Douala, where there were protests the whole of yesterday and even right to the night. A few business people could be seen opening their businesses this morning. Some children actually went to school. In Yaoundé, there's also calm In Garua, a few people came out, but Garua is more of a ghost town. What is happening now is targeted assaults. That is, the protesters or the supporters of Issa Chiruma have decided to be destroying public edifices, public infrastructure, in retaliation of the live ammunition that is used on them. So they go behind, hide, and then burn public offices, the senior divisional offices, and the houses of officials identified as those collaborating with the government of Cameroon. Issa Chiruma has also called for protest on Friday. He says on Friday, every Cameroonian, wherever they are, should come out and march and make sure that the victory doesn't finally go Paul Biya way. And also there is information that Paul Biya is also preparing his inauguration, which will likely be on the 6th of November, that's next week. And the day coincides with the 40th anniversary celebration of Paul Biya's party, the Cameroon People Democratic Movement. So there is uneasy calm in Cameroon, targeted assaults, and some people are trying to come out of their business to do their businesses. Some children are actually on their way to school. Some who are scared. There is still a heavy presence of the military on streets, on major road junctions.
Now, the protest on Friday that Bakari has called for, is it just for this Friday, or is it going to be a continuous thing?
He says people should come out massively on Friday, but he had not called off the protests that were going on already, because in some areas, like in Bafoussam, we got information this morning that there were still protests. So this protest is calling for everybody, all Cameroonians, to come out on the street and march peacefully. He's even indicating that they should march to the Unity Palace, that is in Cameroon. The Unity Palace is where the president's office, that they should march there and put pressure on Mr. Biya to hand power.
There are reports, Muki, that at least 23 people have been killed. Has this been confirmed?
It has not been confirmed yet, but every day we keep on seeing videos of people shot. We saw another video this morning of 2 people killed in Douala. So the 22 may just be a figure that is unofficial yet, but people are counting already more than 30. If you count the number of people that have been documented by civil society groups, you see that at least 30 people have been killed. But the government has not yet confirmed the figures.
Now, despite other opposition leaders alleging widespread fraud, the council's decision is final and is not subject to appeal. In terms of the opposition, how are they going to address this issue?
The issue about opposition in Cameroon is that they are so fragmented. As Chiruma is there protesting, some of them are negotiating deals with the government. Some even already congratulated Mr. Biya for the victory. That was the case of Cabral Libby. And then the Social Democratic Front Party also came out with a cautious statement insinuating that life should continue. So if the opposition were united, I mean, it should have been stronger than what you see. I'm not saying that it's not strong. The protests are very, very strong. A lot of property has been destroyed, but the fragmented opposition is really, hindering what some people think may have been a successful protest this far. Some people think that if Cameroon opposition were really united, then they would have gone far in pressing on Mr. Biya to leave power.
And just for interest's sake, should something happen to Paul Biya, who would then become the president?
Well,
I'm just asking a question because Moki, he's 93 years old.
Listen, the Constitution of the Republic of Cameroon is very clear on it, that if the president dies or is incapacitated, it's the Speaker of the National Assembly who takes over. The Speaker of the National Assembly himself is 86 years old and is not well. I mean, he is frailer than Mr. Biya is. So that's the person who has to take over and organize election in at least 120 days. But he has been evacuated. Nobody knows where he is now. They say his health is not good at all. So that is the situation. Secondly, the leaders in this country, the Speaker of the National Assembly is about 86 years old. Sorry, the president of the Senate who has to take over is about 90 years old, getting to 90 years old. Then the police chief is 93 years old. all of them who are there who can manage the issues are very old people. That is why the youth are even very angry about this protest. So if something happens to Mr. Bia, we don't pray, people don't pray it happens, although some people are saying that it should. If it happens, it's an 86 to 90-year-old man who will take over an organization. And that man himself is not well. He has been evacuated.
Muki, it's always a pleasure. Let's leave it there for today.
I just wanted to add something.
Yes.
If you give us the time.
Yes.
Yes, the issue of the people, friendly countries actually congratulating Bia. We have had Equatorial Guinea congratulating Bia. Know that the president of Equatorial Guinea has been there for more than 45 years. He's one of the longest serving leaders in the world. Then Central African Republic has congratulated Bia. That's a man who also changed the constitution to run for life. The president of Chad, Idriss Deby, took over in a coup, has also congratulated Bia. But the European Union and other countries, Western countries, have been very, very cautious. They are simply saying that Cameroon to go to the negotiating table, to a dialogue table, and be able to make things right before they get out of hand.
Well, Muki, we will leave it here for today, and I guess it will continue as time progresses. That's our correspondent in Cameroon, Muki Kinzeka, ending that discussion. It is 12:53 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa.
Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
Now, as South Africa wraps up Transport Month, speeding continues to be a major problem on the country's highways. A video on social media shows a Zimbabwe cross-border bus traveling over 120 kilometers per hour. And to speak to us further, we are joined on the line by Phumuzo Mukwati, from the Africa Unite Borders Trucks Association. Phumuzo, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon, Lulu, and the listeners, viewers at home.
Phumuzo, this latest video on social media brings home the increasing accidents happening on the country's roads where passengers lose their lives. Why would those driving such large vehicles and carrying people continue to drive so recklessly?
Firstly, let me also send condolences on this month, because you remember we experienced an accident where 43 passengers were lost in the Lost Richard Mercado there by Chambudi Mountain. On this problem, mostly our law enforcement are too much corrupt. Where these buses, they budget money knowing that they will pay bribe to these officers. Another point for this, some of these bus companies, when they speed, they are trying to avoid law enforcement because they carry undocumented passengers. Some of the buses will find that they are contravening with the Health and Medication Act. Some they've got medication in their bus. Sometimes it's an explosive. So let me come to the point too. Also that worries us most, to say, us, we are trying our best, but our government officials are too much corrupt. And we want to also to put blame also to the minister, Barbara Creasy, and the former Scopa deputy, Shengwa. In one of the bus that was speeding, according to some of the survivors in Chambudi there, that these buses, some of them, they don't even have operating permit or license, including that bus that kills 43 passengers. That bus does not have a permit, but minister and their deputy, they are hiding it in order to protect cross-border road transport agency officials, including some of the RTI or cross-border police officers who allow buses to get inside, in and out of the country without even have the operating permit. So these bus companies, some of them, they take advantage to say, even if they can fund us, we are going to pay bribery. Even if we are overloaded, we are going to pay that bribe. So on that case of the accident, we found that even some of the reports that there were mix-up of Zimbabweans, Malawans, and Malawi and Zimbabwe in one bus. I want to put it clear that we don't have such a kind of a permit in the cross-border, meaning that bus was loading illegal. And within some days, the same company or related colors of the bus lost control, nearly to kill another passenger there in the Plugwan, where the trailer lost the control. So to come to say how these buses come to drive high speed, they are avoiding law enforcement. Some, they are tired of paying bribery on the highway.
But now, just Pumuzo, how are they avoiding law enforcement officers if they're driving at high speeds, which is more than likely they're then going to be stopped?
In some cases, some of the bus, when they run speed, you will find that there is a fight between these police officers running after them, looking for the money. You see, that's why we are calling to say, if Minister Chris and their deputy are serious, they must try by all means that all bus company and truckers who violated their law, their permit must be revoked. Because we know that most of these bus companies that are involved on high speed, some they don't have operating permit. They will cross from Bed Plaza. You will ask yourself how this bus run from a long distance with a high speed, because you know we have got the cameras that they can monitor. You will see that syndicate here in the transport business is too huge. So what we can say to the minister, they must stop protecting bus companies that are violating the law, because we know that some of the bus companies are friends with some of these law enforcement, are also friends with some of the CDRTA.
All right.
That's what.
Unfortunately, we are going to have to leave it there for today. We have run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update. That's Pumuzo Mukwati from the African Unite Borders Trucks Association joining us on the line. Lulu Gaboo is here, the Upside team. Good afternoon. Hello. Happy Thursday.
Hello. Happy Thursday to you, Lulu. So this afternoon on the Upside, we unpack the term called job hugging. It's a term used for people who don't want to let go of their jobs because of fear of loss of income. They're holding on to it not because they enjoy it or because it brings joy to them, but simply because they cannot afford to not work. So we call that job hugging, and we'll be unpacking that term later on today. And then, have you ever gone to an art exhibition and just looked at a painting and wondered, so what must I look at here? We're going to learn how to read art, the stories behind the artwork and what it is trying to say to you. So that's all coming up on the Upside.
That's the Upside coming up at the top of the hour with Lulu Gaboo and Matsuko Musito. For myself, Lulu Gaboo, and the Africa Update team, it's been a good one. Let's do this again tomorrow and continue with us on our socials. Thank you to our producer, Tracy Bumgar, technical operator, Didimalo Macau, and social media talent, Butelezi. Bye-bye.
SABC News.